Hey guys. Bruno wants to say hi. Hello. Guys, this is like my fourth or fifth time trying to record this video because every time I try to record this video, something happens. So I'm gonna see how far in I get recording this video. But essentially, I wanted to film a video about all of the books that I've read so far this year for 2025 because on Monday, which was 2 days ago, I completed my GoodReads reading challenge for the year, and it's only July. So I'm very proud of myself. My goal was to read 20 books this year, which I hit. So I'm very happy. And I thought that it could be fun to record a video about the books that I've read and my thoughts about them and sort of just like recap what I've read so far this year. So, anyways, is this annoying, by the way? Should I put this down? I don't know if it'll have the same effect, but if you can't tell, the quality of this video might be a bit lower because I'm using my iPad to record because my camera died when I was trying to record it when I had my previous attempts to record this like literally just 5 minutes ago, and then it died. So I've opted to record on my iPad instead. Anyhow, that's why the quality looks like this, and that's why I'm using this microphone, because I don't want the audio to be terrible. So yeah, I'm just gonna start reviewing the books that I've read, going through the books that I've read in chronological order, and hopefully this take is a success. So, for my first book for 2025, I read Flowers for Algernon by Daniel Keyes. Hang on, I'm just going to move a bit closer. This book was a 3-star read for me, 3 out of 5. And I would say, it's a 3-star rating. It could have been higher if the ending had made me cry, but it didn't. And I say that because 1, books that make me cry tend to get high ratings, and 2, all of the reviews that I'd seen about this book had said that they shed tears quite violently. So I was expecting to, well up at least, but I didn't. Not that I remember. Hence the 3-star rating. I did especially like the use of the style and structure of the text, like literally, because it's written as like a progress journal / like diary of Charlie Gordon. Algernon is the name of a rat, actually. It's not the name of the protagonist. And Charlie Gordon is the protagonist, the narrator, and it's his progress report of his journey from like, I don't want to say stupidity, but he's very simple-minded, and his writing is quite like preliminary, like very foundational, despite him being at a very, I don't know how old he is, but he's quite mature. Yeah, so he struggles to like spell words properly and all that. So it starts from him at that point, and then it quickly improves, and you can see his journey towards intelligence, and then his decline. I don't know if that's a spoiler. I feel like it could be a spoiler, but yes, I thought the use of the style as a progress journal was very clever to represent the character development. Anyways, yeah, 3 stars for Flowers for Algernon. The next book I read for the year was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I gave this a 4-star out of 5 rating on GoodReads, and I still stand by it. I think what I liked especially about this book was it was like you were sort of gossiping, I suppose, but like you weren't the one doing the gossiping. Like you were just like it's like it was reminiscent of social media drama, like that sort of stuff. It was reminiscent of that kind of stuff that we see today on the internet, and it was very engaging. There was a lot of twists, a lot of twists and turns, and I very much enjoyed the read. And I feel like this would be a really easy recommendation for me to give to people who are like starting out their reading journey, because it's very engaging and I felt really fulfilled after reading this book. Like I was like, that was a really good read. So yeah, I'd be very comfortable in recommending this book. The next book I have on my list is the next book that I read was The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, which I don't have because I read it on my Kindle, and I gave that one 3 stars out of 5, which I still agree with. And I would say the reason why I gave it 3 stars, because it has a 4.64 average rating on GoodReads with 1.8 million ratings. I would say I gave it 3 stars because it was a little bit boring at times. I don't want to say generally it was a little bit boring, because there were definitely tense moments, but like it just didn't excite me that much. Like I've read The Book Thief, which is one of my favorite books of all time. I read The Tattooist of Auschwitz, which is a book I actually read this year. That was quite stimulating. And then I read The Diary of Anne Frank, which is also an excellent book. I'm listing off books that I've read that are set during World War II, by the way, because The Nightingale is set during World War II. So that The Diary of Anne Frank, excellent. And I've read Night, which is also very, very good, very haunting. And then I've read The Nightingale, which The Nightingale, compared to those 4 books that I've read, doesn't quite stand out. But anyways, that's mainly why I gave it 3 stars, because like compared to the other like World War II setting texts that I've read, it just like didn't quite compare. But maybe I'm being a bit unfair. Anyways, the next book that I read was Cleopatra and Frankenstein by Coco Mellors. Interestingly, I gave this 4 stars and the average rating is 3.70 on GoodReads. So I gave it higher than the average rating, which I want to say yes, that makes sense. It would probably be like a soft 4-star, like not a solid. Wait, I'm just going to read the last page and see. Ooh. I don't quite remember how the ending made me feel, because I don't really remember the ending, but I gave it 4 stars. And I would say yes, it was a good book. I've read Blue Sisters by Coco Mellors as well, and I like that one too. Yeah, I'd say this was a perfectly good book. Nothing too exquisite though, but also nothing too disappointing. I would say I gave it a high rating as well because of her writing. I think I like her writing style. It was fast-paced? ? I don't quite remember. But I don't remember feeling like I was trudging through the book, you know. It felt like consistent. So yeah, 4 stars. This book, I think I would be less inclined to recommend. I'd be less confident to recommend it to people as opposed to The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Probably because I'm not so confident that this would excite people like it did for me. But anyways, on to the next book it was Anxious People by Frederick Bachman, which I don't have because I actually bought it on Kindle, but then I accidentally also bought the audiobook for it. So I think I mostly listened to this book rather than reading it. I would say, let me see what I gave it. Sorry. I think I gave it 4 stars. Oh no, I gave it 3 stars. Well, that's interesting because my memory would have thought I gave it 4 stars. The average rating is 4.1. I want to say, okay, I kind of want to change my rating for it. I kind of want to give it 3. I feel like 3 is like not generous enough, but yeah, 3.5 stars for Anxious People. I think the storyline was very unique. It's like a hostage situation, but it's very lighthearted and very comical, which is quite the opposite of what you would think a hostage situation would be like. So I think the contrast between the two was very clever. This is hard because I listened to it. So I kind of had a different experience with the narrative because I listened to it as opposed to read it. And maybe that's perhaps why I thought I gave it less stars, because listening to it, like, at times I could, like, tune out and tune back in. So I probably missed a lot of the good moments. Or I, like, probably missed a lot of details. But 3 stars? 3.5 stars? For Anxious People? Maybe I should reread it. I think I might have to reread it and then reassess my rating for that one. Anyways, the next book I read was None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. This book, pretty sure I gave it 4 stars. Yeah, 4 stars! Which I would, stick with. 4 stars for this one. The ending, the ending that you thought was the ending, there's another twist to it. Like, it's actually, like, pretty crazy. I remember, like, reading majority of this book outside in our backyard during a really nice hot day, and my mum had a friend over, and I didn't really, like, they were socializing together, so I was just gonna keep to myself, and I just spent most of my afternoon outside reading this book, and I was having the time of my life. So yeah, this one, solid 4 stars. I still stand by that rating, and this one would be an easy recommendation for people who are looking for their next read. The next book that I read was Happy Place by Emily Henry. This is my first Emily Henry book that I've read, and I gave it 4 stars. Oh, I think I would say it's more like a 3.5. It's like a soft 4 star. I'm changing my ratings, like, after I've already rated it, but, you know, I've had time to reflect on it, and it's good, but it's really cheesy. And not to say that cheesy romances are bad, but it couldn't be any higher than, like, 4 stars because it was so cheesy to me, in my opinion. But it was still really good. Her writing, similar to, like, Taylor Jenkins Reid, to me is quite accessible. Like, you can read it and understand it, like, as soon as you've read the words, you're like, okay, I get what's going on. So, I really like that about it. And it was a quick read. I think I read it does it say how long it took me to read? I don't know how to check that. But, I remember it being fairly quick. And I felt good after reading it. Yeah. I don't know. Do I have anything else to say about this? About Happy Place? I just noticed the glossy text of Happy Place. That's quite cool. Anyways. Yeah. My first Emily Henry book, Happy Place. Soft 4. Probably more like a 3.5 star out of 5. So, on to the next one, which was I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman, which I gave 4 stars. And I would agree with that. 4 stars sounds appropriate. This book, she's skinny. How many pages? 188? 188. Oh! 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188. 188 I just read the last page. Yeah. Yeah, that reminded me of why it made me feel like that. Yeah, like literally like the last words. I'm not gonna say what the last words are, but like the last words is what made me go like, oh, yes. This is such a weird, in a good way, weird book. I don't think this is a book that I would recommend to people, but if someone has it on their shelf and is like, oh, I really want to read I Who Have Never Known Men, then I'd be like, I'll be all for it. I'd be like, you should definitely read I Who Have Never Known Men. Like, it really makes you think. It really makes you think. I don't know if I should explain the synopsis. I'm not gonna explain the synopsis, but like it's you can like read it online. It really does make you think about like the kind of world that the narrator lives in. Like, it's very strange in a very good way. So yeah, solid 4 stars. Yeah. Dang. I've just like been reminded of how good of a book it was. So next is, guys, this was my first 5-star book for 2025. And you know what? I would be more inclined to like give it 6 stars. It was a really good book, and that was Martyr by Kaveh Akbar. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but guys, this book. I remember watching a Jack Edwards video, and this book, I think he had read this book and he was like raving on about it. And I literally paused the video there, got up from my seat, from my desk where I'm sitting right now, and I literally went to the bookstore to pick this book up, and I got it for $35. What the? That is so expensive. But worth every single dollar, worth every single cent. This book was just like insane in the best way possible. And if I would have if I would have written a book, I would want to have written this book. This book is just like so good. I feel like that's all I should say. Read it if you want a good read. Read Martyr, guys. Oh, even though it's like a trade paperback like size, it's like bigger than the normal like paperback. The text is quite. I mean, it's not huge, but like, look, it doesn't feel like it's as long as it looks. Like, you'll finish it quick, trust. Okay, enough. Next book is. Oh, where did my books go? No, my list of books. They're gone. Okay, the next book I don't have physically here because I gave it to my dad to read, and it was Everything is Tuberculosis, The History and Persistence of Our Deadliest Infection by John Green. And that one I gave 4 stars. That sounds quite generous. I'd probably give it like 3.5. A soft 4 stars out of 5. Oh, I wrote a review. I said, super quick and easy read. Haven't read a non-fiction book in yonks, so this was definitely a breath of fresh air to read. So many fascinating facts about the links between TB and aspects of society. Really eye-opening at some points. A plethora of amazing quotes. I feel much wiser than I was before reading this book. That's fair. I would agree with the haven't read a non-fiction book in yonks. I feel like, is that the only non-fiction book I've read this year? I think that is the only non-fiction book I've read this year. Yeah, because I generally don't go for non-fiction books. But that one was good. I'd seen a lot of recommendations, a lot of positive reviews, and I wanted to give it a go. And I don't feel bad about having committed my time to reading the book. Anyways, so yeah, 3.5, soft 4 out of 5 stars. Next book I read was Angels and Demons by Dan Brown. I have read The Da Vinci Code, and I didn't realize that Angels and Demons was actually released before the Da Vinci Code. I thought it was the other way around. Not that it... Oh, I guess it doesn't matter. It does sort of matter, because like the thing I had against this book was that it was literally the exact same plot and story progression and character tropes as the Da Vinci Code. Like, I literally just read the Da Vinci Code, but in a church setting, in a religious setting. Oh, yeah, in like a religious setting. Like, the Da Vinci Code was like in the arts context. This was the religious context. I gave it 4 stars, which I think I would agree. I would agree, 4 stars. His writing, Dan Brown's writing, the way he writes, is very, very accessible, just like Emily Henry and Taylor Jenkins Reid. And the detail in the descriptions is crazy. Like, how do you just know that much about something that you are able to describe it so precisely? It's like, how do you have the vocabulary and ability to arrange such words in such a way that it just makes so much sense? But yeah. Okay, so my next book that I read was, I don't know. Okay, I don't know if this counts. Like, I might have not read 20 books. I might have lied, because this is like a short story, but I have it physically with me as a book, and it's called Galatea by Madeline Miller. It's, yeah, very tiny, very small text. Most definitely a short story. It literally says a short story, but I'm still counting it because I shelved it on my GoodReads and it counted it as part of my 20 books for the year. So I gave it 3 stars, which makes sense. That makes sense. I don't really have much to say about it, other than it was a good read. I will say, Madeline Miller, I really enjoy her writing. Like, I read The Song of Achilles. That was so good. I definitely have to read that one again. And then Circe, which is also just as good, which I will definitely have to read again at some point. But I was really, like, craving Madeline Miller's writing again, like, at the time. And I was like, I'm just going to read this to, like, satiate that craving for it. After that, I read My Dog Vanessa by Elizabeth Russell. Crazy. I didn't know at all what this book was. I didn't even read the blurb. Like, my friend at work just recommended me to read it, and, like, I just went into it blind. And I suggest that you do the same, because, like, I mean, it might be good to read trigger warnings, but I just went into it completely blind. And it was worth it, and I was, like, my jaw was just dropped the whole time I was reading it. Like, what did I give it? I think I must have given it, like, 4 stars. This one's crazy. Yeah, 4 stars. That makes sense. This is a crazy book. It's crazy in, like, the I can't believe what I'm reading kind of way. But yeah, 4 stars still. Very good nonetheless. So the next book I read was The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. Did I give this okay. I'm curious to see what I gave it, because I have 3 stars. I had very high expectations for this book, which is probably very unfair to my rating about this book, because I'd heard so many great things, so many good reviews, and I was highly anticipating reading this because of the things I'd read about the book. And then when I tried to read it for the first time, I think I, like, got up to page 20 or something, and then I put it down and didn't pick it up until I did pick it up earlier this year. I don't want to say it was a struggle to read this book, but I definitely had to turn on my brain and, like, lock in when I was reading this, because I don't know, the way she wrote things, like, I kind of just had to, like, I had to make sure I wasn't just skimming, because there was probably several pages where I would just skim the words as opposed to, like, proper reading it, because her writing, it's not necessarily, like, complicated or anything. It's just, like, it was just difficult for me to absorb. I couldn't absorb it easily. Hence the 3 stars, because of my 2 attempts at trying to read it, and it just didn't quite live up to my expectations. So the next one I read was I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid, which I gave it 5 stars, which actually, you know, I'm not gonna change that. I do think the 5-star rating is justified. I also wrote down a review for it. Yes. Yeah. I wrote the first, things I kind of wrote was such a creepy book, which it is a very creepy book. And if you were to read this book, I would suggest that you should watch the Charlie Kaufman adaptation of it on Netflix, because that helped me picture what he had written. It helped me picture the events, because it's really strange and really creepy, and I feel like having that visual aid helped me understand what he wrote. So yeah, if you've already watched it, definitely read the book, and if you haven't and you want to read the book, you should first watch the film, then read the book, is my recommendation. 5 stars. So the next book I read was The Tattooist of Auschwitz by Heather Morris, and I gave this one probably 4 stars. I'd give it 4 stars now. I gave it 4 stars. 4 stars. That makes sense. The thing that really stuck with me with this book was the epilogue, postscript, and afterward, which was at the end of the book. Basically, because it says here, based on an incredible true story. And when I was reading it, I actually forgot that it wasn't fiction necessarily. It felt like fiction when I was reading it, and then at the end when I read the epilogue, postscript, and afterward, it really sunk in then that what I had just read was based on a true story and true events that happened. And that's what hit me. That's what struck me. I was like, oh, that's right. This is not a work entirely of fiction, which was crazy to think about. So yeah, this one I enjoyed. 4 stars. Highly recommend. The next one I read was Deep Cuts by Holly Brickley, which I don't have with me right now because my boyfriend has it, because I told him to read it because he's a massive music nerd, and I really wanted him to read it so that he could interpret the music references and enjoy the music references, and then tell me about it, because I like music, but I'm not a music geek, and I don't have that much knowledge about music and artists. And she was Holly Brickley was just name dropping all of these albums and artists, and I was still able to enjoy the book despite not being able to relate to it very deeply. I gave it 4 stars. I agree. I think 4 stars sounds good. I was very fond of her writing style. There were several quotes that I would read, I would read over, then I would read again, because they were really, really profound. Oh, there were quotes that would be so good, I had to take myself out of my place in the book to think about, which is a good way to put it. I had to, literally put the book down, or, close the book and just, think about what I had read, and then I could continue. So yeah, it was that kind of writing. And I do remember getting to the end of the book, and I was calling my boyfriend. Actually, he called me to say goodnight, and I was like, hang on, can you wait a second, because I'm almost finished with Deep Cuts. So I had to hang up on him, finish my book, then call him back, and I told him about it, how it was really good. And he's currently reading it now, although he's a bit more conservative with the book. That is to say, he hasn't read much of it. Okay, so the next book that I read was Franny and Zooey by J.D. Salinger. I don't know why I read this one, because I read Catcher in the Rye in high school and I did not like it at all. So, reading J.D. Salinger again, picking him up again, was I definitely didn't have high expectations because of my past experience with his writing. And that was good because I ended up giving it 2 stars, which I think that's solid. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. Oh yeah, it wasn't what I expected. I thought it was going to be between 2 friends, but it's actually between 2 siblings, which I guess is not so far off, but it still did make a difference. And yeah, I think the thing that I didn't really like about it was the writing. I think his writing I just don't really like, which is not meant to be offensive at all. Like, it's just, I just don't really enjoy the writing. But I have a few tabs in here, some good moments. There were some good moments, some good quotes worth remembering. So it wasn't horrible, but I wouldn't recommend or pick it up again. So yeah. The next book that I've read is Funny Story by Emily Henry. My second Emily Henry book, and this one, 5 stars. 5 stars. I really liked Funny Story. I liked the characters and I liked their connection, and I liked the situation that they were forced into, even though it was highly unrealistic. And it wasn't too cheesy. It was still cheesy, but it wasn't that bad. It wasn't like Happy Place. It was more bearable. And this one I would definitely feel very comfortable recommending to people who want like a nice rom-com read. Like, I know a few people that I have told that they should read this book. So yeah, I really like this one. Funny Story. I think I would read it again sometime in the future, because yeah, I think it's a book that I will always like, that I will always be drawn towards. Okay, so the 20th book that I read, the final book of this video that I'm going to talk about. This one is definitely quite a hit, and it is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. Oh. Guys, I might have to stop recording here because my mom just came home and I'm shy. So I might have to leave this review for another time. I'm back to review The Secret History by Donna Tartt, which was indeed my 20th book of the year, which would then complete my reading challenge on GoodReads. And I was just getting my review up, which I gave on GoodReads, which is I gave 4.5 stars, but you can't do like half increments on GoodReads, so I did 4 stars, but it's a solid 4.5 star. Oh, but I wrote that it could potentially be a 5 star. Bruno's there, by the way. That's Bruno. Yeah. The only reason I didn't give it 5 stars was because it just didn't feel like a 5-star read. But it was really good. I'd say it could even be like 4.75 stars, if anything. Just not quite 5 stars. I will say, and I also wrote this in my GoodReads review, I was very intimidated to start this book because of the size, the thickness of the book. It's 628 pages, and similar to Marta, hang on, let me move in. Similar to Marta, it definitely didn't feel like how long it is. Like, it did not feel like 628 pages. I finished it, I think, like, within a week and a half or something like that. Which is, I mean, to me, that's pretty quick. Because something like this, like A Little Life. I read A Little Life last year, and that's probably around the same size. I have it on my shelf. And that took me like a month. I'm pretty sure. Like, that's just from memory. It could have taken shorter, but it felt like it took a month to get through it. So I'm very impressed that I could read this so quickly, and it was all because of how good a book it was. Like, so many twists and turns, so many like side quests which end up being part of the main quest. There's like from the get-go, like can I just read you the first line in chapter 1? No, in prologue, I'm sorry. The snow in the mountains was melting and Bunny had been dead for several weeks before we came to understand the gravity of our situation. So already, someone's dead. Which I feel like is a very effective way of hooking your reader. Right at the beginning, right literally in the first sentence. The reader is hooked. So, yes, that rounds off my GoodReads reading goal, which was 20 books for the year. I'm going to still continue reading. I'm currently reading Pride and Prejudice because I watched the film, the Keira Knightley Pride and Prejudice, and I really liked it. So then I was like, I'm going to read the book. Although I actually started reading the book on my Kindle, but then I couldn't understand it because it was like, I don't know if you've read it, but like, there's like, just dialogue upon dialogue upon dialogue. Like, you're literally just like reading a conversation, and she doesn't really say like which character had just spoken, so it was really confusing for me. So I read like the first maybe 2 chapters, then I didn't continue it, and then watched the film, and then came back to read the book because I enjoyed the film so much. So yes, reading Pride and Prejudice, and hopefully I can maybe get 30 books for the year. That could be good. If I were to recommend 3 books off of my 20 books that I've read this year, I would recommend to read Martyr, Funny Story, and then The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. That doesn't necessarily mean that those are my 3 favorites. Those are just the ones that I think would make good recommendations for anyone generally. Like, because I would love to recommend The Secret History, but it's a really long read. And I would love to recommend I Who Have Never Known Men, but I don't think it's the book. It's a book for everyone. And I would also like to recommend My Dark Vanessa, but again, very twisted. And I would recommend None of This Is True, but I had to pick 3. So None of This Is True would be my 4th. Okay, sorry. You want to go out? Go on. So yes, those are my recommendations from my list that I've read this year. I suppose that'll finish my video, my book reviews. Thanks for listening to me rant about books. I hope it was somewhat fascinating. Yeah, I hope it was somewhat fascinating and interesting. And yeah, guess that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye.